Hey everyone, this is YouTube Vids. Hello to my fellow Ohioans. This video that I am releasing today is, and plan on doing maybe every day, I don't know, we'll see going forward, just to provide some type of an update related to this coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic that's currently sweeping our state and the nation and the world. Again, these videos are only intended to focus on the state of Ohio in particular because that is where I'm from. So if you're in Ohio and you're watching this video, you've come to the right place. I'm not saying I should be your number one or primary news source for information related to this virus, but I am certainly trying my best to get information out there that can help you understand what's going on and so on and so forth. My primary focus for today, for my first video on this, is to focus on the curve. So I don't know who established the hashtag on Twitter, but essentially there's a hashtag on Twitter, stop the curve. I know Ohio is using that in a lot of their tweets, whether it's coming from the Ohio Public Health and the governor himself. You know, they're definitely using that tweet. The focus for everyone in the state of Ohio needs to be slowing down the rate in which the coronavirus is spreading throughout our state. I mean, so as of right now, if you look at our chart, as of today, they reported 704 cases of the coronavirus in Ohio. This is Ohio alone, and I know that doesn't seem like it's high, but I'll explain why. It's definitely gonna get worse, but I'll explain why. So between March 8th and March 25th, which isn't a whole lot of time, I mean, it's barely a month, obviously. We went from 0 to 700 cases, 704 cases, and as you can tell, the blue represents how many cases we were reported in a day, per day in Ohio between the 8th and the 25th of March, and the orange represents the increase between the prior day and that day of the new report. So as of the 13th of March, we increased by 8 cases. As of today, we increased by 140 cases. So the idea of the hashtag flatten the curve is to make sure that, like, okay, if I start seeing that I'm getting 140 each day, then that's not ideal, but at least you've started to see that trend slow down. You don't want to see more than what you obviously the idea is we don't want to see more cases every day than we had the prior day. We want to see that start to slow down. And so then that's when we know social distancing and the stay-at-home order that the governor put in place is actually working. Now, I'm going to go back real quick. 704 cases, the reason why that's going to grow is because as of today, the Ohio Department of Health is still saying that there's not been enough test kits available for people to use to know an actual number. They're almost certain that this number is higher. So we can certainly expect over the next week or so at least this number to continue to get higher, but everyone in our state, no matter where you're from, whether your county has cases reported or not, you need to do your part. And again, follow the stay-at-home order. Social distancing, you need to make sure you practice that. Social distancing just means, again, stay within 6 feet of people that you have to be around. And again, like, I know at home that's obviously not necessarily ideal, and you probably don't necessarily need to abide by that at home, but you need to make sure that the people in your household are also practicing that if they need to go out and about. The stay-at-home order is a good thing because that says, look, if you're not in a critical industry, if you don't work in a critical industry, then your work should be having you work from home, or unfortunately you just are without a job. And again, I feel bad for anyone who falls into that category. I really do. I'm not going to dwell too much on that, though, right now. Really what I want to focus on, is everyone in the state, you guys need to make sure you practice the social distancing. We need to see these numbers start to level off and then ultimately decline. I saw some information today that our governor, Mike DeWine, has said that he doesn't necessarily think that will happen until early May. There's a possibility of that, but I think a lot of that, I don't think that necessarily means that the stay-at-home order would be extended through May, but that may be because as people are continuing to get tested and we continue to find out more and more cases of people who weren't previously tested because they couldn't get tested, that number may still continue to increase, but we need to do our absolute best. Don't just assume that all the new reports coming in are just people who haven't been tested. You can still have the disease, you can still have the illness and not be experiencing the effects of the illness, and you can still transmit the effects of that illness to someone else. So if you haven't heard that, you've heard it now. You may not feel the effects of the illness, but you may still have it, and you can certainly still transmit it. And you don't want to be responsible, and you won't know that you're responsible, but you don't want to be responsible for transmitting that illness to someone else who can actually be impacted by that more so than you are. So again, practice your social distancing. That doesn't mean you can't go outside. It doesn't mean you can't go for walks. It doesn't mean even that you can't necessarily go to playgrounds. Although I would highly suggest, if I were you, I wouldn't be taking my kids to playgrounds. I wouldn't be going anywhere where you're touching surfaces that are not going to be sanitized, because you are able to contract the disease through touching surfaces that other infected people have touched, or just inhaling the now again, you're not going to get that outside most likely, but indoors, especially if you're close to, within 6 feet of someone who sneezes or coughs, you can inhale that and essentially inhale their germs and essentially become infected just from that alone. So when you're indoors, stay as far away from people as you possibly can. When you go outside, I would avoid touching anything outside, because the city's not going around and sterilizing everything that there is that you could possibly touch outside. So I would keep your kids away unless it's in your own yard. And even then, I don't know if I would do that, but I would keep your kids, family members, people, don't touch anything that you don't have to touch. It sucks. We as human beings like to interact with people, and we like to go outside and have fun and stuff like that. And I know the weather is sort of kind of getting better in Ohio, depending upon what area you're in. But you need to do your best to stay indoors, practice your social distancing, stay away from people, stay away from touching things. Make sure you wash your hands. Especially after you do touch things, make sure you wash your hands for the 20 seconds. Make sure you wash with soap. Make sure you wash your hands very well. If you can wear gloves when you do certain things, certainly wear gloves. Do anything you can to keep yourself protected. That's all I'm asking. So again, this message is primarily for Ohioans. Again, this is the graph I'm showing you right now. This is legitimate data. You can check this out on the CDC. You can check this out on the various websites Ohio have stood up. One site I do want to show specifically is Ohio does have a website available if you wanted to go check it out. This has the same, this has a finer breakdown of information that I showed you on the graph, but coronavirus.ohio.gov. So this site is updated daily with information related to the coronavirus, including the number of confirmed cases and so on and so forth. Again, there's been 10 deaths. So again, don't take this stuff lightly, guys. Do not take this stuff lightly. You need to make sure you treat this seriously. Even if you don't think, even if you're not infected, you can still have the infection and not know it and not be experiencing the symptoms of it. And you're one of the lucky few if that's the case. But don't put yourself and other people in a position where you can give this to them or they can give it to you, okay? So again, coronavirus.ohio.gov. And again, they also have frequently asked questions on here. They do have frequently asked questions regarding the stay-at-home order issued by the governor. The reason why I had this up in particular was because I did want to say that they do say on here, if you are being requested to continue to leave your house to go to work every single day, you should only be doing that if your company or your employer has deemed you an essential worker. Now, their definition of essential worker on this website is basically like healthcare workers and stuff like that. So, grocery stores, yes, and also restaurants that do carry out and stuff like that. I would say that I would say if you can avoid, I would not go to restaurants at this time either. There's no need. And again, I know we as humans, sometimes it's just the easy thing to do, just go get carry out or whatever. If you can avoid just making that trip, That's one less person you have to interact with to get food and possibly contract the virus from, because you never know. Again, anyone can be sick and you just don't know it. And so cut down on the amount. I would limit as much time as you can and the need that you have to go outside. Especially if it requires interaction with people or going around people. But anyways, back to this point. So again, essential businesses, again, are, it says, included but not limited to pharmacies, certain government offices, and restaurants providing takeout meals. So now they're not necessarily limited to this, but again, this tells you the severity or the importance of these businesses. And it says if you work for a business, then if you work for an essential business, be sure you continue to practice social distancing. And it says if you believe your business is non-essential but are still being asked to show up to work, it says you should discuss it with your employer. Now, again, I understand some people may say that's a waste of time, and trust me, I completely understand. Talking to businesses is like talking to a wall sometimes, but you need to get your voice heard. At least you can say you said something. The other option that you have too is if you feel like you're working as part of a non-essential business that is claiming you as essential, you can always take to Twitter and you can always tweet at the governor. I don't know whether or not that'll have an impact. You can probably also try to call the governor if you wanted to see if you can get through to someone who might be able to help you out. Here, they don't tell you to go anywhere else except for your employer. But if you want your message heard beyond just your employer because you feel like they're not listening to you, consider tweeting at the governor. You can find him on Twitter. He seems to be very active in tweeting and responding to tweets and stuff like that. In fact, he just said today that they found a company that was claiming to be considered essential, and they said they're not essential, and so they're taking action against that company. I don't know how that came about, but chances are that may have been something that was, sent directly to the governor himself. So again, if you feel like you're part of one of those non-essential businesses that just hasn't closed or found a way for you to work from home or whatever, do whatever it is you can to make sure that you get yourself out of harm's way, and make your voice heard. So Twitter may be the best way to do it, or again, call the governor himself and lodge a complaint that way. So this video has already gone on for way too long, guys, but I appreciate anyone who took some time to listen to me in this video. And again, spread the information, guys. The best way to make sure that everyone understands what's going on and the severity of the situation we're in, spread the information to as many people as you possibly can. If you want to share them my video, that's fine. If you want to share them the coronavirus.ohio.gov, and again, this is specifically focused on Ohioans, so coronavirus.ohio.gov will give you about all the information you could possibly need. And again, you can go follow Mike DeWine on Twitter, as he's been very active in tweeting like multiple times throughout the day and tweeting updates and all that kind of stuff. Again, guys, everyone, practice your social distancing. Wash your hands as frequent as possible. If you don't need to go outdoors, especially if it requires human interaction, I would avoid it at all costs so that you don't contract the illness and you don't give it to someone else. Thank you again, everyone. Hopefully, I think I'll be back tomorrow with another video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.